Okay, we made it to the beginning of the Tetons. There are tons of wildflowers. It is so beautiful out here. Excuse my appearance. I'm still in my pajamas, but that's okay. Let's go explore.
Our first stop was the Bridger Teton National Forest, where we were greeted with the most beautiful wildflowers before entering the Grand Teton National Park, where we took our first sign pictures of the whole entire trip. We spent most of our day driving, so right when we got to the Teton National Forest, we went and took this dirt road to find the most amazing campsite ever. I was blessed with the coordinates to this beautiful location by an amazing friend of mine who had just camped here just a few weeks prior. Now that we're here, let me give you the lay of the land a little bit. We parked our car at the furthest point possible before setting up our campsite. Located right next to us, there is a bear box in case we need to store any food, and this little trail that we took to the highest point we could find. Now, it may not look like much of a walk from the drone's point of view, but trust me, it was definitely a miniature hike, especially when you're exhausted and just want to lay down after a long day of driving. The next morning, we packed up our stuff and headed down the mountain to the Teton County Recreation Center, where we took a refreshing shower and prepared ourselves for the day of travels ahead.
Go potty. Good girl. Good morning. How are you guys doing today? I just showered at the rec center because we smelled like campfire last night due to the beautiful campfire that we had. Let me update you. Okay, so right now Alan is taking a shower. Last night we were camping in the Grand Tetons. It was so freaking beautiful. We were not sure if we were going to be camping there or not. We didn't bring any food. We only brought water. We were just very ill prepared for this camping trip. We thought that we were going to have a place where we could grab groceries and all the goodies that we needed before we went up there. And this morning was absolutely gorgeous. I got to finally take one of those aesthetic videos of those people that open the tent and then they have that grand view of wherever they're camping. I've always wanted to do that, but I've never camped in a spot that was cool enough to do that. So I'm a little proud. And yes, I'm getting ready in the car. I literally brought the most minimal things to get ready out here. I brought some face cream, toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, and then just because my locks get tangled in my natural hair, I have Miracle leave-in treatment. But honestly, it's so nice getting ready this way because it's so like minimal too. Are you such a good girl? Thank you for being such a good girl. So I also made a quick little run to Dollar Tree because I just needed some necessities. Like I just got some travel wipes for us. I found instant coffee and then lactose-free or dairy-free coffee creamer. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to try this. Then we got ourselves some shampoo because we forgot shampoo. We did not load up this car properly, but it's fine. My honey wanted to have some Jack and Coke on a mountain. So we got the Coke, we just gotta get the Jack now. And let's go to the back to look at what we got from Albertsons. This bag is so freaking cute. It is a Jackson Hole bag from Albertsons. But we got this cooler as well with a bunch of cold things in it. Waters, because water is essential. And that is packed a lot tighter than I wanna go through to show you guys. So we basically just got peanut butter and jelly stuff, things to make hot dogs, some trail mix. Hi, baby. How are you doing? Did you have so much fun sleeping in the mountains last night? Did you have so much fun? So far, we woke up in the mountains, went to Albertsons, went to Dollar Tree, just showered at the rec center, and I think our next stop is Yellowstone. Let's get back to the road trip.
After we were done at the rec center, we made a little pit stop to Leaks Marina and Pizzeria, where we didn't get any pizza, but we did play in the water and enjoy the beautiful views before jumping back in the car and heading to Yellowstone National Park. Yellowstone National Park is kind of a sentimental place to myself and my family due to the history of my grandfather working here as a park ranger for so many years. There were tons of different pull-offs, places to visit, trails, and other activities that you can do while you're here enjoying the park. but honestly, I just wanted to go to all the pull-offs and find the most spectacular views and soak them in as best as I could. After enjoying the views for a few hours, we went to go check out the old geyser, but unfortunately, the old geyser had just erupted. So we walked down the path and enjoyed some views of the Castle Geyser, which goes off for anywhere from 15 to about 35 minutes. This park is partially dog friendly. You can't walk your dog on the boardwalk, but you can walk your dog down the road to the other geysers. You just can't walk them through the park, unfortunately. If you do get to walk through the boardwalk of the park, you'll see lots of hot springs and lots of different size geysers. You could honestly probably kill hours over here. And geysers are such a sight to see.
Okay, you guys, I have been traveling around Yellowstone National Park all day. I have seen geysers, some beautiful mountains, some very steep canyons. No wild animals though, just a couple of chipmunks and gophers. This national park is absolutely beautiful. We just left the old geyser. Alan just sent the drone into the air so that we can give you guys a better glimpse of what this beautiful place looks like. And this is just one of the many pull-offs that they have. We're currently still in the state of Wyoming, but we're headed north towards Montana. We have no idea where we're going to camp tonight, but we're hoping it's as cool as last night's campsite.
After we were done with the national park, we headed out to West Yellowstone and then took the road 287 to find our very first camping spot of the night. And I say first camping spot because we went to multiple other ones. Around 7 p.m. we arrived at this amazing spot where there was a little river and there weren't many other campers. It was dispersed, meaning it was free, and it even came with a little campfire ring. But unfortunately, the ground was not level and there were a ton of bugs. So we jumped back in the car and continued driving, looking for a new place to stay. We popped in some new coordinates from iOverlander and headed to another place that had dispersed riverfront camping. But when we got there, all of the spots were taken, so we had to pass over this rickety bridge that is supposedly made for cars and continue driving once again to find another destination. On top of our first camping site not being completely perfect, we also knew that we had so much daylight because it doesn't get as dark as quick there. So we knew that we still had a couple hours that we could either spend driving or relaxing. And my honey really wanted to get to Glacier National Park, so we just kept driving. And we did stop at some pretty places that we saw along the way, and this was one of them.
So while this is an absolutely beautiful view, there are a bunch of bugs.
Turn around.
Okay. Ah, it's so cold.
You need it. Your back's just torn up.
After our buggy pit stop, we ended the day off on such a beautiful note. Look at this farmhouse and the lights and the sunset. The next morning, we woke up at a Super 8 motel because we just kept driving until we couldn't drive any longer. Of course, we indulged in some delicious complimentary breakfast and got back on the road.
Greetings from the road. We are currently in Montana. We just stopped at a gas station so that we could fill up. Fun fact, we actually stopped at 3 different gas stations because Montana, maybe it's because the towns are so small, but most of them are just gas pumps and there's no inside area of the gas station, and we've been wanting things from the inside area of a gas station. So we drove around the town until we found a gas station. I just made us some peanut butter and jellies on the go. We are refilling. Okay, so this is the fastest I've ever traveled, but honestly, it doesn't feel like I'm traveling fast. It just kind of feels like we're just observing, finding cool spots. With what works, what doesn't. We continue floating along. If we find our place in an area that might not be suitable for us for the night or for the day. And it's really cool because in our RV, we've had to travel so slow that if we wanted to bounce around, it was quite literally almost impossible because we had to travel so slow with the RV. Hello, what did you get? A pizza? I just made sandwiches, but a pizza. And what is this? Tea! Oh my gosh, I love tea. So we're currently reading up on all of our goodies, and then we're gonna go to Glacier, and fingers crossed that we get a campsite. But if that does not work, I do have a couple of extra campsites that I did bookmark on iOverlander just in case. But we are going to dive into our sacks and then continue our drive to Montana. Or we're in Montana. We're going to Glacier. We're gonna go to Glacier.
Welcome to Glacier, everybody. I don't really have words to describe the kind of peace that this place has. The energy here is just so pure, and there's a softness to this place. Let me show you guys around Glacier National Park. Our first pit stop being the Glacier National Park sign and grabbing a little pamphlet map. I've collected one from each national park so far, and I don't intend to stop anytime soon. Right when you enter Glacier, you can tell that this place is just absolute magic. There's an iconic road called Going to the Sun Road that Glacier is known for. We came in through the east entrance, and right when you enter in the east entrance, you are hit with all of the amazing sights to see. From the bluest water you've probably ever seen, and some of the tallest waterfalls I've ever been greeted by. We have plans to adventure the park tomorrow, so our next stop was finding a place to seek refuge for the night. While we were browsing Google on the west side of Glacier, we found the Sunflower Cafe. And to our surprise, the Sunflower Cafe was not only a delicious place for us to eat, it was also a super adorable campsite where we spent our evening. We pitched our tent and then grabbed some amazing huckleberry lemonade and some barbecue sandwiches, just in time to watch the sunset from our cute little campsite. It was really nice to have a place to relax as the evening set in, and also a nice toilet for you to sit on versus outside or a gas station. We have plans to wake up super early in the morning to get into the national park for free. So it's time for us to hit the hay, and I'll see you in the morning. After a well-needed great night's rest, we woke up around 4:30 a.m., packed up our campsite, and headed into Glacier National Park. If you get there before 6 a.m., you can get into the park for free without a reservation or a park pass. We much just slept in our cars until the sun rose, and then we were out to explore Glacier. The best part about waking up so early to get here was the fact that there was no cars, no traffic, and best of all, no people. While my partner was flying the drone, getting a good glimpse of everything going on in the park, I decided to go meditate on an amazing rock and kind of do a little bit of a cold plunge, but not fully. The water was not super deep, so I thought that I could manage. I did get myself completely soaked for these shots, but once I had made it out onto this rock, I just felt so serene and so peaceful. And since we've been on the go, I found it a perfect time to do a little meditation and breath work before continuing on the journey. Certain popular trailheads did generate a little bit more traffic, but arriving as early as we did, we still got to see some amazing things without the crowds of people. Just about every pull-off that you arrive to, you will be greeted by some flowing water that is the most amazing emerald green and the famous Montana rocks. There's something beautiful about travel that not many people talk about, and it's the fact that you feel so small. The more places you see and the more grand that they are, the more perspective you get as an individual. Every time I visit a new place, I'm greeted by different people, different cultures, and different ways of life. It makes me feel so small, but it also makes me feel so connected. And being able to reach places like this by just driving my car has led me to the feeling that not everything is as far away as we think it is. And no matter how badly you want something, places like this make you feel like everything is possible. Now that it's 3 o'clock, it is free for everyone else to get into the park as they please. Meaning for us, it is the perfect time to leave the park and head off to our next destination. After an exhausting day of sightseeing and traveling around Glacier National Park, Indy and I jump in the back of the rental car and get cozy for a good long nap. Tonight, our goal is to drive all the way through Montana, through the little portion of Idaho, and then right into Washington. We were lucky enough to get an Airbnb for the night on the far east side of Washington, but nevertheless in the state of Washington. When we finally arrived at the Airbnb, the host greeted us with a pin where we would put our location on her map. The next morning, Indy and I came downstairs to check out the place since we didn't really get to see much since it was pitch black last night. Inside, she had tons of treats for you to make yourself a breakfast. She kind of had like a B&B going on. And then outside, her house was so beautifully decorated with a gorgeous lawn for my puppy dog to run around and do her business. Now for us to continue the rest of our drive across Washington. We are trying to make our way as far west as possible. After our long trek through the state of Washington, we finally made it to Mount Rainier National Park. When we were looking at the national parks that were here in Washington, we planned on going to this one because it was so close to the Olympic National Forest. We've been driving all day, so all we really did was drive through the park, absorb all of the beautiful views, and then quickly hunt for a place to camp for the evening. We did spend a lot of time looking for this campsite, so this is the next day. After we left Mount Rainier National Park, we ended up making a pit stop at REI and picked up a Jetboil. The last few days of us camping and staying at hotels, I did not have a good cup of coffee or tea, and my partner thought that I was completely deserving of having a warm beverage every single morning, so he got me this amazing Jetboil. And these things are so cool. I did not even know that I wanted one until I got one. And I enjoyed my warm beverage outside with this gorgeous view before packing up the tent and going to clean out the car. We have been driving so much in our rental car that our rental car actually needed an oil change. Lucky for us, we get unlimited miles with this rental, so we just called the rental company and they told us to return the car. But we have been living in it like some feral forest people. So we needed to clean out the car, give it a good wash, and return this rental car back to them semi-clean. Our new rental was also a little bit bigger and a little cooler, a little newer. After we swapped the rentals, we drove from Seattle to the northern left corner of Washington. At the time, we didn't realize it, but this is Lake Crescent, and this is the clearest view we are gonna see the whole entire trip here. If we would have known that this is how clear Lake Crescent was going to be and the clearest it was going to be for us, we would have thrown the drone in the air and gotten an even more amazing view, but we did not know that it's normally foggy and cloudy. I also didn't realize that this was Lake Crescent yet either until I came up to a little pull-off and saw that we were on Lake Crescent in Olympic National Park. After driving around the lake, we headed into Forks and deeper into the Hoh Rainforest to make camp. The next day, we drove around Lake Crescent once again, and you can tell that it is a lot more foggy than it was yesterday. We have been on the road for about a week now, and we are in desperate need of a laundry day. So we drove an hour all the way around Lake Crescent again to get to Willie's laundromat. It felt so good to be able to wash all of our bedding, blankets, and our clothes to keep us cozy and warm. After we were done with our laundry, we headed back to our campsite, and at this point, it is so foggy and so rainy. This is the Washington that most people know and love. And this was our very first gloomy day of the whole entire trip so far. And after a successful laundry day, we headed back with some Subway to enjoy a beautiful campfire and sticking our feet in the river before heading off to bed. The next morning, we did a couple of different trails. We did the Hall of Mosses, we did Solduck Falls, and went to a couple of little local trails that people highly rated. Just like yesterday, today is another gloomy day, and it is damp and dewy and feels like a rainforest. Quite recently, my partner and I have gotten really into Pokemon Go, and this looks like a Pokeball, does it not? Anyways, I just thought that that was really cool. If you guys plan on doing Solduck Falls or traveling through the Hall of Mosses, they are both very simple trails and pretty accessible for most people.
So I have been traveling around the Olympic National Forest all day long, and for the past 2 nights, this has been our campsite. First, we got to take this walk through the forest.
You're gonna park your car at the very end of the road right before this trail starts. You'll see this tree, which you will walk underneath it. It kind of feels like you're going through another portal. and then you step over this miniature river covered with rocks, and then you'll make your way down this path for about a minute or two before you come out on this rocky beach that already has a couple of different fire spot places and an area cleared of rocks so that it's not a bumpy place for you to sleep. Not a bad camping spot if you ask me.
God. There you go. It looks like cereal. I would put milk in that and eat it.
Milk?
It looks like cereal.
We've been trying these adventure meals that are freeze-dried. We have had 2 different kinds so far. We've had the biscuits and gravy and then the egg.
Up exploring, enjoying, and absorbing every beautiful moment that we could in the Hoh Rainforest. The Olympic National Park has been on my bucket list for so long, and at one point we were greeted with the biggest traffic jam I have ever seen. So while I was uploading all of the footage from my camera onto my computer, we hit a gigantic traffic jam and I wasn't able to take a video of what we were doing, so my partner threw the drone up in the air, and you can see that this traffic goes for so long. But our patience was rewarded with such an amazing view of the coast. I was not anticipating seeing any more sights today, but as we were driving, we peeked over the highway and saw some of these amazing massive structures of rocks and trees out in the water, and it's something I've never seen before. I do live by the beach in Florida, and we don't have any structures like this at all. It was such a sight to see. I needed to see it up close and personal, and so I had my partner send up the drone to see what we were missing from a bird's eye view. We were scoping it out for as long as we could on the drone. Eventually we had to kick off our shoes and go enjoy the beautiful beach ourselves, where we were greeted with tons of giant pieces of driftwood and the biggest rock sculptures I've ever seen, sculpted by nature, of course. After our time at Ruby Beach, we went down just a little bit further and saw the Tree of Life. I had a ton of recommendations to visit this place, and it also did not disappoint and was just a short trip from Ruby Beach. If you are in the area, I highly recommend you visit both of these beaches. And if you've been to them before, let me know in the comments below, and if it's one of your favorites, because it's definitely one of mine now. After a super eventful day of road tripping and sightseeing and beach hopping, we stopped and got ourselves a cute little hotel right in Washington, right on the border of Oregon. We were absolutely starving, so before going to bed, we stopped at this little porthole grill and got ourselves some food. After a much needed night's rest, we woke up and got back on the road to start road tripping again. I got this delicious matcha. It was probably the best matcha I've ever had before we went to go see Troll Bridge in Oregon. Now, if I'm being quite honest with you, Troll Bridge and the matcha was the extent of the highlights of the day, because all we did was drive the coast of Oregon all the way down so that we could do our best to make it to Crescent City, because our time with this rental is coming to an end very quickly. And there weren't a bunch of places that we really desperately wanted to see in Oregon, so California bound it was. I definitely plan to go back and visit Oregon. There are so many sites and things that I did want to see, but we're just going to take way too much time and way too many miles that we do not have the space for right now. So whenever I do make it back up to Oregon, I need you guys to drop me all of your favorite places and things to do that I have to see whenever I go back, because I will be going back sooner than you think. Sometimes travel days are nothing but long, long drives, and that's what today was, with a couple of beautiful sunsets. In Crescent City, California, in a cute little motel, and we are headed to the Redwood National Parks. Right when we entered the park, we got a glimpse of the big sign, which we had to take pictures of, and then another beautiful highway with a gorgeous scenic view. My partner couldn't help himself but throw the drone up in the air and take a better look at the beach. Even though we didn't need much convincing, the drone footage made us super eager to go down to the beach ourselves and check it out. It's still pretty early, so we were blessed to have the whole entire beach to ourselves. Enjoying the beach was refreshing, but now we are finally at the place that this whole road trip was pretty much based around, and that is the Redwood Forest. I've heard stories about these trees for so long. I have heard nothing but amazing things about these trees. I have a friend, and her whole entire social media name is dedicated to these trees. Now, I don't know what it is that I needed from this place, but all I know is my soul needed to come here. We did a lot of exploring. We did the tour through the tree. We went to the Trees of Mystery, which was really awesome because they have tons of did you know facts around the whole entire park, educating you on these amazing trees. There are chainsaws so you can see what they used to use to try and cut these down. There's a gondola that takes you through the trees so you can just get a beautiful glimpse of them. And then you're also going to be in the top portion of the canopy so you can just kind of overlook everything, which is awesome. And you can take it both up or down, and then you can also take a hike. If you wanted to hike from the top to the bottom, you could. After our long day of exploring, we got some In-N-Out burger before ending up in Reno, Nevada. There's a whole lot that went down in Reno, Nevada, but I did not vlog any of it. So this is our next morning heading to Utah, and this is our first glimpse of the Salt Flats. Last time I did my road trip through Arizona, I really wanted to make it to the Salt Flats, but they were flooded, and we also just didn't have time to make it up there. So on the road trip back, I made it a goal of ours to make it to the Salt Flats as our last hurrah, our last goodbye of this road trip. Never have I ever seen something so beautiful and crazy. Like, I can't believe we're driving on salt right now, and there's mountains in the background. So where we thought the Salt Flats were gonna be our last hurrah, once we got back to Colorado, we were only home for about a day or so before we missed seeing the beautiful sights. So we went to the Rocky National Park and explored there before our journey back home to Florida. Thank you for joining me on this trip. Thank you for watching back the most amazing road trip I've ever been on. Please, I want to hear your comments. I want to hear your advice. I want to hear what you guys think of this video. It was so much fun, obviously going on the trip, but then coming back to recreate the video, to do a play-by-play. I really felt like I was reliving this entire trip, and this is one where, yes, I made it to broadcast it to the world, but I also kind of made this just for myself so that for years and years to come, I can play back this road trip and remember it, because I can't tell you how long I've been dreaming for a road trip like this. And I finally got to go on it, and I will never, ever want to forget it or take it for granted. If you're new here, please go like and subscribe so that you can follow along with this manifesting generator's journey, because it is always changing and it is always pretty fun and pretty epic. And I'd love to see you there. Until next time, butterflies, bye.